This video is going to introduce you to view modes. Now, view modes are important because they allow you different ways to access your model or your geometry. So the first one I'm going to introduce you to is the one that I showed you in a previous video, but it's wireframe mode. You can do this by selecting the number 4 key on your keyboard. So all of these view modes are within the numbers on your keyboard. So if I hit the number 4, it becomes wireframe. So if I change this to face, wireframe is useful because it allows me to see through the form to objects that are either within or behind it. And if I've got these face handles turned on, it's especially helpful because it allows me to identify where face centers are and allows me to grab them. So once again, that's wireframe by hitting the number 4 key. I can hit the number 5 key, and that's shaded. And as I'm selecting these, you notice that it has a pop-up telling me what just happened. If I hit number 6, it's shaded with texture maps, and you're not going to see a difference with the primitives between 5 and 6 because there's no texture assigned. Right now they've got their default Lambert 1, just like that gray color, and so there's no change. But once you actually have textures on an object, you will notice a very large difference between 5 and 6. 7 is lighted, textured, and shaded. Right now there are no lights in the scene, and so it's just showing up dark because there's no shading information or no lighting information. And so by hitting number 4, number 5, number 6, and number 7, I can change through different view modes based on what I need to be viewing. In most cases, I work between 4, which is wireframe, and 6, which is textured, but I will occasionally use the number 5 where it's got the texture turned off if the texture is really busy or if there's a problem seeing it. Usually I have my model complete before I go into texturing, but there are exceptions where I need to make changes to a model after the fact. The other one, 7, I rarely use because most of my models go into a game engine. However, if you do want to see what it looks like with lighting on it, then using the number 7 key to see it in shaded mode can be useful as well. So 4, 5, 6, and 7. I also want to talk about the first 3 keys. So right now with this object selected, I changed it to object mode. If I hit the number 1 key, it doesn't really do anything because it's already in that initial mode. If I hit the number 2 key, you'll notice that the cube disappeared and in the center appeared this sphere. Well, that sphere actually is the cube, but in sub D or subdivision mode. Now sub Ds are not used for games yet because they would cost too much to calculate on the fly. However, they are used for animation and for film. It allows you to do very low geometry models so you can keep things simple but still have nice soft edges. So if you notice, if I grab a vertex and I select it here and I move that around, it's actually influencing and changing what that sub D surface is. The number 3 key changes it to sub D mode. So 1 is polygon mode, 2 is sub D with the polygon shell, and 3 is the sub D mode. And you can also incorporate that with the other modes, so 4, 5, 6, 7. Now what sub D is it takes your polygon geometry and it tries to soften it. Like if it subdivided it and rounded it, what would that look like? And so yet again, that's that sub D mode. Now I'm going to show you very quickly. I'm going to add an edge loop, how this can be used to create different shapes. Because if all your boxes or your cubes turned into spheres, it wouldn't work very well. But you see, that just hardened up that top edge. And you can see the correlating edges within here. So there's that top edge, and here's that secondary edge that was just created. I can add more, and you see it adds more information to help create this softer form. And so when I go out of that insert edge loop mode and then change it back to 3, this is the sub D form. So once again, this can be used in film and animation to create nice rounded objects that don't have to be a high geometry, but for our purposes, we will stay in polygon mode. So if you ever see something that doesn't quite line up or doesn't look correct, for example, you go to select a vertex and you notice that the handles and where you're moving things are in a different place, that's probably because you accidentally selected either the 2 or the 3 key and you're in sub D mode. So make sure that you hit the 1 key. You should be working in polygon mode to see specifically what you're doing. So once again, for the 3D pipeline for game development, that's going to stay as polygons. We don't yet have the ability to do sub D surfaces within a video game. So just for a quick review then, so 1 is polygon, 2 is sub D with the polygon shell, 3 is sub D, so keep that at 1. 4 is wireframe, 5 is shaded, 6 is shaded with texture, 7 is shaded texture with the lighting information.